Hello and welcome to this session where we're looking at the time to grad function in the AutoScholar Advisor. Here you can see this interface with some basic statistics. It's showing us the number of students who enrolled for the first time in these years. And it's also showing us that the number of students from this cohort who eventually did complete on time. And here it's showing us the number of students who entered with this cohort but who still have not graduated. So even though that's 2013 and 2014 and we are now in 2020/2021, these 50% of these students have not yet graduated. You can see that a little more graphically down here. You can see 2030 minimum time completed in minimum time plus 1, minimum time plus 2, and so on. That's shown here. So in a way, this kind of drop-off is expected and natural, but from a picture like this, we don't really see that actually there's a huge contingent here that have not graduated and who are unlikely to graduate. So that's a missed opportunity for major subsidy income. So that's how we can read a picture like that. And then we can also go on to look at some of the biographical information. And on the interface, there's this drop down here. So it shows all kinds of biographical information. So age and home language, and there's about 20 different variables. So here looking at quintile, you can see for the lower quintiles, the proportion of graduated and not graduated students. It's similar, and then if you look at the higher quintiles, the pass rate effectively increases. So you have a higher pass rate at the higher quintile numbers. So that is to some extent expected. Then if you look under the at-risk student identification, right? So once we know that a student may have some challenges in progressing, we need to be able to identify those students, number one, and we need to be able to reach out to them and suggest forms of support and so on. So in the context of a single course, we can see all the assessments in that course. So these are test marks, TM1, TM2, and so on. You can see the mean mark, the standard deviation. And then over here is a list of students. And the names and student numbers are garbled. This is from one of the institutions in South Africa, and we are not really showing the, we don't want to show any identifiers here. So anyway, you've got the list of student names and student numbers. So if you are from that institution, then you'll be able to see this. And there's a set of alerts that are shown here, and that helps us identify which students are at risk. So when you click on a student card here, then it loads up a message. So it pre-populates a message that you can send to that student. So reaching out to students and suggesting support is as simple as clicking here and clicking there. So that was looking at in a single course. Now let's look at students at risk across a whole program. So taking the students' data across all the courses that they've attempted so far in a program, you can see there's some advising here about unusually low number of core course credits. So sometimes students try to subvert our progression rules, so they overcredit for elective courses in hopes of avoiding the progression rules, and they actually do this successfully. So this is unwanted academic behavior, and sometimes you just might be passing too few credits per semester. So there are different types of alerts that you can raise here. And so at the program level, we can identify also which students are at risk. Then also, what do you do about that? So you can help students understand inside the program where they might be having difficulty by creating concept maps. So this is a way of developing curriculum scaffolding. So you break down each course in a curriculum into its constituent components, and then you establish relationships among those components, and then the system draws out for you the concept map. So for example here, relative motion, that can be well understood if you understand the theorem of Pythagoras well enough. And then once you understand relative motion, then Newton's laws of motion, special relativity, celestial mechanics, all that becomes easier. So of course, these other topics, they rely on other prerequisite knowledge as well. So that's what this is. This is in effect the map of prerequisite knowledge shown as a tree, and it has lots of applications. You can imagine teaching with this. So when you start a new topic, you can point out to the class what previous topics should be revised before the present one can be fully understood. And then we can also explain the relevance of the present topic, so we can show what subsequent topics become more accessible. So if you do this at the course level, then that helps to break down the silos among courses, because we want to be able to show how the different courses in the curriculum are connected through their concepts. So now we have these boxes. So now the concepts live in these boxes that we call courses, and we can show how the concepts in one course relate to the concepts in the other course. So you can establish all this through the Course View Connect in your topics editor. So you can create your topics and you can create the relationships among topics, and then the system will draw out the concept scaffold or the concept tree for you. You can also attach resources to each of those topics. So if a student uses the concept map to identify where they need more understanding and support, then one of the best forms of support is to simply grant access to resources for studying those concepts. So if a student recognizes that they don't understand this concept well enough, then in your resource set, you can simply start studying some resources for that. You can also train yourself on some practice questions. So there is an editor that you can use to create questions and answers, and these will be auto-graded. And so you have here a set of questions that have been created along with scoring and with answers and solutions built in. So you can build your solutions into the questions, and the key bit is that you can also add randomization and variation in the question. So you can change text labels. It will also shuffle the order of the questions. It will shuffle the order of the options available, and it will also change the values in the questions. And so you can, even from a single question, you can create a virtually unlimited number of questions for the students to keep practicing on and training on. So you can use that for practicing, and you can also use it even for creating assessments. So here's an interface that shows once you've defined all the topics in your curriculum, then the student can try and troubleshoot where they're having difficulty in making progress. So if they say they are not understanding some concepts, then it brings up that interface, and they can try and figure out what the concept is that's troubling them, and then they can go back and use these other approaches to address that.